Yeah, well, it was a very, actually, it was a very pretty stressful situation. We booked the studio time several months in advance. We booked it at Lakeside Studios in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is Travis Wyrick's studio, and it's where we've recorded all the Places Skull stuff. And he's also a Grammy-nominated producer, so he's kind of does a lot of high-profile stuff. But he and I are friends for 10 years or so, and so. He allowed us to book time there, 3 months in advance with no deposits and so forth. But the problem was also Place of Skulls had a tour right before the studio time.
So there was a conflict.
There was a little bit of a conflict, yeah. So when we came back from the Place of Skulls tour, we only had something like 6 or 7 days to prepare to go in the studio to record the new album. And we had already had very limited preparation time. And there was a bit of a conflict with Gary Isom's schedule, where he was not going to be able to do a couple of those days. And the problem with that was that since we were very unrehearsed, and a lot of the songs on the album were Bobby's stuff from demos, in the '70s, aside from the
I was meaning to ask you.
Yeah, and so that stuff needs to be kind of reworked, and, restructured, and so forth to jack it up to the new sound. And so with this conflict of rehearsal time and so forth, we ended up having to bring in Tim Tomaselli, the drummer of Place of Skulls, at the last minute to work on these songs. And so it was really kind of crunch time. We had to go in, had just a few days to prepare, and then some of the stuff we didn't even really have ready. We just kind of finished it as we went in the studio. But yeah, I love everything that we managed to accomplish on the album. Tim did an incredible job on the drums, and I think this is probably the best sounding album, especially for Bobby, maybe since Day of Reckoning or something.
Yeah,
they had a very strong voice sounding, and he's kind of back to sounding, Yeah, we're not trying to imitate anybody's sound, it's Bobby's voice. I've kind of been molding and kind of working on my guitar tone, and I still am actually, and so I think it's very recognizable as our Pentagram album, and Greg Turley's on bass, who was also in Pentagram in the mid-'90s, and so there's a lot of elements, from the past that are there, but it's also, a lot of new stuff, happening with the way we're playing the songs, and our styles have developed and progressed over the years, and so yeah, it's like a very Pentagram sounding album, but also, very modern sounding album as well. But people take that both ways. A lot of people, old school people, guys, it sounds too modern, but you can't please everybody. There's always going to be somebody who's a little unhappy with whatever you do one way or the other. So you can only go in and do the best you can do, and do it from the heart. That was a co-write between Greg and myself, and I didn't intend to sing the song. Bobby was, the song was supposed to be sung by Bobby, but again, it kind of goes back to that we were very unrehearsed in the studio and limited on time and everything else, and so Bobby suggested, since I'd already written the words and came up with the vocal melody and everything else, that I sing it. But I was apprehensive about doing it, but I went ahead and did it. And actually now I'm still a little bit, I wish that Bobby would sing the song, because I think, in my opinion, and I've heard people go both ways. Some people think it's cool, but some people seem to also think that it kind of breaks the flow of the album up, which kind of is the direction I lean a little bit towards, because, since Bobby doesn't play an instrument, it's like his voice is his input on Pentagram material. So for me to do a lead vocal is, I just now that I hear the whole album in context, and then suddenly there's a different voice, after like 7 or 8 songs.
It's the odd one out.
Huh?
It's the odd one out.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, but I've heard different opinions. Some people don't
the song
mind.
is good.
Yeah, some people don't mind. Some people think, you know, that it's kind of breaks the flow a little bit, which I kind of agree with too. But if I had it to do over again, I would absolutely insist that Bobby sing the song 100%. But you know, it is what it is. It's a song that Bobby wrote back in the '70s, and at first, you know, when I heard the demo of it, I was kind of a little bit like, well, I don't know, what do we do with this, you know? Because it is kind of a ballad and very different than anything we've really done before, at least when I've been, you know, on the albums I've recorded. So, but, you know, once we kind of worked on the structure and, you know, the vibe and the whole thing, you know, it really came together. And it has kind of a bluesy, melancholy feel, you know, very kind of a little bit sad kind of thing going on with it. So, yeah, it's probably definitely one of my favorite songs. So, yeah.
Okay.
And I had a good time doing the guitars on that song as well, a long kind of fade out solo. Let's see, I think there was like, there's 11 total. I think we used like 7 or 8.
So there are many songs, yeah.
Yeah, older songs, but you know, of course, you know, we take those kind of
and you rework
structure, rework them, you know, kind of jack everything up,
yeah.
you know, give it a more modern, you know, heavy sound. And, you know, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to see, you know, turn the songs into like, you know, what they would be now, you know, 40 years later. You know, obviously a lot of people love like the stuff that's on First Days Here. And the vintage
yeah,
sound, but you know,
sound,
you can't go back. You know, you can't re-record a brand new album. Well, you can, but you know, that's not really what I'm about. Oh, it was great, man. It was also a little bit stressful though because we also didn't rehearse. We had Pentagram played. We played South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, like mid-March. And then immediately after that, I started the Place of Skulls tour here, the European Place of Skulls tour for As a Dog Returns, and toured that for 2 weeks. And so Place of Skulls ended their tour at Roadburn, and Pentagram started this tour at Roadburn.
Yeah.
So I
you're
played
on
a
the
show
road,
with each, and then the first, the Pentagram show at Roadburn was the first time we played together again in like 1 month. So. You know, it was we were worried, a little bit worried, you know, but we had a quick rehearsal in a rehearsal room at Roadburn, you know, early in the day, and everything went good. And then we played, actually played the Hammer of Doom Festival in Würzburg on Saturday, which really, we had a really great show there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty amazed. I mean, we all are really, you know, that. You know, it's too bad all this didn't happen 20 years ago. But you know, we have to just you know, be thankful for it, you know, and take advantage of the opportunities. It's a little bit crazy that, you know, all of a sudden there's this resurgence for Pentagram after all these years. And I mean, I don't know where all these people came from, because we look at the audience. You know, we have, you know, people who are like, you know, our own age, people your age, and you know, and really young people, and so there's a whole wide range of age, the age group, you know, who are into Pentagram. And, you know, I guess it's just a whole timing thing, you know, however that works, fate, whatever, you know, however you want to call it. But, you know, we're just going to try to take advantage of the good opportunities, make right and good decisions about, you know, how we handle it. And I'm sure if there's anything, you know, probably 20, 30 years ago, anything like this would have happened, we probably would have blown it anyway. So maybe we're more ready for it now than we were then. Well, back in May 2010, just like a year ago, Bobby's guitar player at the time left really suddenly before a tour they had, and Bobby called me to fill in. And actually, I couldn't fill in on the tour. He wanted me. He was asking me to because I had this the Place of Skulls and Death Row thing going on. But anyway, I told him that I would fill in on the tour after that, and so I did. And then we began to talk about, you know, me rejoining as a permanent member. But you know, there were a couple of conditions, and that mainly that I wanted to see for myself that Bobby was, sober, and there was not the whole drug thing going on, like there was in the past. And because that was always something that brought the band down, big time. And it wasn't only Bobby either at the time, back in the 80s and 90s when we all had our demons, quite a bit. But he'd been telling me that he was, off the heavy stuff, but I had to see it for myself. And then once I went on the road with him, and also Greg Turley joined in on bass, so being back together with him and Bobby was a very positive feeling, especially seeing that Bobby was doing, putting his best foot forward and trying to do the right thing. He's married now, has a kid, and so I think he's starting to realize a lot of responsibilities that he never had before. And so that was one of the conditions. And another condition I had was too, I didn't want to be associated with any of the Baphomets and pentagrams and upside down crosses and all the stuff that kind of went along with the pentagram thing, back in the 80s and 90s. And he didn't have a problem with that either. I think we've also grown spiritually kind of in the same direction as well. So we've gotten rid of all the negative vibes and all the negative symbolism, and still pentagram and still making music. Yeah, that was actually part of the deal with Metal Blade. So they wanted that for a DVD release, which I don't know the actual release date, but it should be within the next couple of months. And we had a really good show, Maryland Death Festival, which was kind of strange because it's more of a has a reputation for being more of like speed metal or black metal kind of stuff. So we were a little bit, why are we on the bill? But I think in the last couple of years, it's gone a little bit more to the doom side, just heavy rock. They still have like black metal bands and stuff too, but it's a real wide range of metal at Maryland Death Festival now. So we had a great show there, and we're very well received, and so yeah, did a pretty cool DVD. Very mixed. I don't see it's along the album that we did in 2006, The Black Is Never Far. I think it kind of takes up where that album left off, but it's a little bit more dynamic, maybe a little bit more quieter parts, mellower parts, but it also still has all the heavy stuff as well. But it was also, it just was released in Europe, just like April 4th or something. So we had two different labels. We had a U.S. label and the European label. The European label was Volcom Entertainment Europe. So it just got released here a few weeks ago. But we've had a lot of mixed reviews, especially about the lyrical content. It has a lot to do with my spiritual beliefs, that kind of thing. But it's not, I look at it more as just like it's an autobiographical kind of thing, the writing on it. It's not where I'm trying to force force my spiritual outlook or beliefs on people. It's just me writing, about my experiences in my life, in a kind of an autobiographical way. And the same way would be as if you were just reading a book about somebody, But yeah, the reviews have been pretty mixed. Some people expected it to be heavier, and obviously with some of the spiritual and Christian content in the lyrics puts people off. But, that's been going on for 2,000 years, so, it is what it is, I just write music and lyrics and songs, from what I feel, and try to be real with it. And there's, if it can be an encouragement to people, then that's what I'd really like to see happen, and I write songs that I feel like are just maybe a little deeper than just a heavy riff, and if it can help somebody or encourage somebody along the way, then I think that's great. If it's not, then,
It's just good music.
Somebody can turn it off and listen to somebody else. So.